Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to tonight's edition of HR Mentorship Learning Series. Today, we have a very special VIP speaker who will be handling the topic at hand. We have also chosen a very special topic: what CEOs expect from human resource practitioners. What CEOs expect from HR. I will need us to listen with rapt attention. And before we proceed, I would like to read a brief excerpt of the citation of our speaker, our facilitator for tonight, so that for those of us who don't know him yet, we can get better acquainted with him, and we'll also be able to pay attention and give this session the required attention so that we can learn and imbibe critical, valuable, timeless lessons tonight. Our facilitator for today is Dr. Olufemi Mosaku Johnson. He is a major corporate governance, learning, and innovative business expert in Nigeria. He was the founder and also the pioneer registrar, CEO of Association of Corporate Governance Professionals of Nigeria. Among other things, Mr. Dr. Mosaku Johnson is the chairman, Hero Advisory and Governance Services. He is a graduate of public administration. He has a master's in personnel psychology from University of Ado-Ekiti. He has a PhD in organizational leadership from NWU, Florida University, United States of America. He's a chartered secretary and administrator, a chartered management practitioner, a chartered personnel management practitioner, and also an economist of repute. His work experience cumulating in a successful tenure for 10 years in Law Union and Rock Insurance PLC. He worked with the Lagos State Public Service for 8 years at the Development Center. He also worked for 5 years at the Institute of Management, Nigerian Institute of Management. He subsequently moved to the Institute of Directors Nigeria, where he pioneered and led the Directors Development Department with AAA rated Directors Learning in Nigeria and in the United Kingdom. In addition to this, he is a member of the Board of Trustees and Secretary of the International Aeronautics College. He is also the Secretary to the Board, Medical Ethics and Governance Initiatives, Board Member, Foundation for Value Transformation, Committee Member, Lagos State Post-Service Welfare Council. He is a technical consultant to the Chamber of Commerce and Industry, as well as examiner at the Chartered Institute of Bankers, CIBA, Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administration, ICSAN. He is an IFC certified corporate governance board leadership trainer, South Africa, and Center for Management Development, CMD accredited trainer. He is an alumnus of the prestigious Lagos Business School, in particular, the School of Media and Communication. Dr. Olufemi is a published author, and I'm happy to also let you know he's from the paramount ruling house of Aguda Ogba, Lagos here. He's happily married with children, with warmth and applause, with all the virtual emoticons we can show. Let's show some love as we welcome to the virtual lecture, Dr. Olufemi Mosaku Johnson, as he teaches us tonight, as he opens our eyes tonight to what CEOs expect from HR. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. We are ready to learn, sir. Over to you, sir.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Yemi Adeosun. I'm so delighted to be with you this evening. I consider this as a very, very important assignment. And it's a very, very great topic that you have chosen. We have worked with a lot of CEOs, and of course, they expect so much from HR. Of course, we also realized that not only HR, they expect a series of things from professionals like accountants, internal auditors, and so on. But today we are concerned with what the CEO actually expects from HR. I've been on the both sides of the divide in the past. I've been, when I was in insurance, for 11 years I was in insurance. I started as an underwriter, but later I was moved to HR and so on. And of course, we found out that from there to client service and so on, a lot of things were being expected from the HR department, HR heads, and so on. Were they able to give what the CEO expects from them is another ball game entirely. I've been CEO in the last almost 10 years. What do I expect from my HR? What do I expect from my HR department and so on? And I put all this together to see how far we can go in this particular topic. It's a very, very important topic, and I'm sure people will basically get to terms with so many things that are very, very critical, especially in this VUCA world, in this era of information superhighway, in this era that innovative and creativity is a main ball of the day. So let's move forward in this very important topic. What is the agenda? We are going to have the introduction. Then we are going to look at the primary goals of human resource, then areas of growth for HR. Then we now go to the nitty-gritty of why we are here this evening. That is the what CEO really need from HR. Very, very important, very, very interesting. Then we look at the problematic areas. What are the areas that are very, very problematic in the relationship of CEO and the HR? So we are going to be bothered about that, and it is very, 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 very important. So this is the agenda that we have today. And of course, we look at the primary function of the HR. What is the primary function of the HR? Basically, the primary function of the HR is planning, very, very critical. Planning is #1 function of management. Without planning, we are nowhere. So planning is it's very, very critical role that HR personnel, HR professionals must play at every point in their work duties and schedule. Equal employment opportunity, they have to see to that people have equal opportunity in terms of race, in terms of gender, in terms of every other characteristics. Then staffing, recruitment and selection is part of their role. Compensation and benefits, very, very critical. What's going to happen to the workers that has worked in an organization? How is it going to be compensated? What are the benefits that is going to derive from working in that organization? HR are also saddled with the responsibility of interfacing between the labor and the organization. Health, safety, and security also is also a bit of HR. Then the development issues that relates to training and development. If you don't train them, why are you blaming them? So development is very, very critical. How is HR going to assist in this particular area? Not only that it's going to ensure that staff are well trained, it's going to also ensure that the CEO himself is well trained so they can function properly. So these are some of the things that we are going to see as we move on in this session tonight. And we also have the secondary function of HR, which is organization and job design, how the organization is going to be basically structured, aligned, and so on, and job design of each individual, and especially in the generic arm of the organization. What are the generic arm of the organization? Admin and finance, marketing, HR, and operation. These are the generic 4 arms of the organization. what is the job design, what is going to be their KPI. And also when you talk about departmental performance analysis, when we are talking about KRA, that is key result area that we're expecting from each department. It is the function of HR to articulate on all this. Then performance management, performance appraisal. We know that performance management is an ongoing development issue that relates to performance of the staff, and performance appraisal is periodic. On an annual basis, the performance of the staff are appraised. You can use any tool, 360-degree tool, BSC, that's balance scorecard, can be used, and whatever tool that they are going to use, it is just the function of the HR to align and to see what tool they are going to basically use. Then research and information system. This is very, very critical area for HR. In the time past, the natural bit of HR is to look at admin issue, performance issue, recruitment, and so on. But today, HR is now standing as a strategic partner with the organization, conducting research, getting information on how organization can beat its competitors. So these are some of the things that we are going to see that we add value to the work of HR practitioner. So we are going to look at that as well as we go. And what are the sample of HRD jobs and their role? They can be executive manager, they can be HR strategic advisor, they can be HR system designer or developer, they can be organization change agent. You can call an HR person organization change agent, organization design consultant, learning program specialist, instructor facilitator, individual development and career counselor, performance consultant, coaching, mentoring and counseling, researcher, and so on. Today now, it is very, very critical that in every HR department, there is a counseling unit. I remember my time in Lagos State Government Service. For 8 years, I was a counseling psychologist for Lagos State Government. Lagos State has Ministry of Staff Training and so on, but they felt that there was the need to have a counselor that will be counseling the staff, that will be counseling the workers of Lagos State. And of course, my office was in a place called Lagos State Public Service Staff Development Center in Magodo. All over the state, if there is any counseling need, if there is issue of delinquency, if there is issue of non-performance or issue that relates to neurosis, they bring people to my clinic. And this is very, very important role that HR must play today, because while people are going down, there's a lot of mental challenge, mental illness, mental health challenges all over the place. And there is the need for HR to understand that part of their work also is to see to that the staff's welfare, the staff's health needs and mental health issues are basically taken care of. So it's a role that HR must play as a matter of compulsion now and as a matter of necessity. It is very, very critical that HR plays this particular role, which is very, very important now. And now moving to strategic role of the HR. Strategic role. When we talk about strategy in management, we are talking about change. That is, HR will now be a change agent. HR will now play a role other than the traditional role that they used to play. And what are those roles? They see employee as organization's asset, and they work with the staff to ensure that the best is actually retrieved from every staff in that organization. And also HR will now look at the area of driving business strategy. In the past, what concerns HR with business strategy? What concerns HR with either the organization is making money or not? What concerns HR with whether the organization is competing favorably well in their industry or not? But today, it is now a sacred mandate of HR to ensure that they drive business strategy of the organization and also spanning organizational functions. Look at series of organizational functions and their deliverables. What is the deliverables? What are we expecting from HR, especially in their strategic role? The issue of performance is very, very critical. Nobody will be resuming in any organization now without getting some form of performance from the person. So they have to look into it that everybody is contributing to the progress of the organization. Then the issue of capacity building is very, very critical. When a staff comes in, they come in with a series of gaps and so on. Those gaps needed to be identified by the HR, and those gaps needed to be filled, building their capacity, making them to be able to do what they cannot be able to do when they are coming in, and making them to up their games and to meet the standard that is required of them. Also, the issue of problem solving and consulting. HR now has a strategic role of looking into the problem of the organization holistically, looking at the problem of marketing, looking at the problem of the customer centrism. When the customers are not satisfied with the organization, then the staff has to be trained to meet that need and so on. HR is now acting as a consultant within the confine of that organization, solving problem, ensuring that issues that relates to competition, that relates to branding, that relates to customer service, that relates to marketing are actually looked into, and ensure that adequate staff with required skill are basically put in that bid to ensure that the organization actually performs effectively. Then organizational change and development, it's very, very important. HR must look into that. How do you bring change? So many changes has to be brought in place. I was training the senior people of the major examination body in Nigeria in February, and I told them that change is coming. Students or candidates are not going to be going all over the country to be writing exams very soon. And I told them, I said that the issue of printing papers, answer script, exam sheets, and so on will be a thing of the past. I say I see in the nearest future, candidates will sit in their houses and they will use their phone to write their exam. And as soon as they are finishing the exam, the result will be entering into their phones and so on. So we look at the role of HR in this particular dimension. They have to look at the changes that is taking place around them now and ensuring that they bring the required development to that particular environment, which is very, very important. So now HR has a lot of values to add, unlike their generic role that they played before. They need to play a lot of role that will make the organization to be able to compete effectively, to be able to actually achieve some sort of profitability, which is very, very important now to HR and their role within the organization. See, series of roles that they have to play, role, sell, what are we expecting from the deliverable and outcome, the metaphor of it, the core activities. On the block one, you have management of senior HR. What do they need to do? Executing corporate strategy. Executing corporate strategy. What is the metaphor here? They are now strategic partner. And what is the core activity here? Aligning HR and business strategy. What does that mean? Marrying or conducting a marriage ceremony between the HR strategy and the business strategy of the organization, and ensuring that they achieve the desired goal in this particular area. Another role is management of firm infrastructure. Those are the roles that they need to add to what they naturally or traditionally are doing. What is the deliverable here? Building an efficient infrastructure, making the office environment to be habitable, to be suitable for workflow. And what is the metaphor here? They now become administrative experts. And what is the core activity here? Re-engineering organization, re-engineering the processes. There is no process that is foolproof. There is no process now that is like without any fault. So there is the need to look at the process again, to re-engineer the process everywhere. Then another role is management of employees' contribution. And what is the deliverable here? Increasing employee commitment and capability. Those are the two issues that HR must be bothered about. When you are bringing in any staff or there's any staff working anywhere, you have to be bothered about, one, their commitment, two, their competence, their capability. It is very, very important. If you have a committed staff that is not competent, that's a problem. If you have a competent staff that is not committed, that is a tragedy. And considering a situation where you have a staff that is not committed and is not competent, that is tragedy raised to power 10. And of course, you have it all over the place, you have it everywhere. So that's the deliverable in that particular area. What is the metaphor here? And becoming an employee champion. Champion their cause, ensuring that they do what they need to do. And what is the core activities here? Providing resources to employees. So these resources is very, very important. In fact, there are 5 critical things that employees are in need of. 5 critical things. One is the vision. They must know the vision of the organization. They must understand the vision of the organization. Number 2, they must have the skill. The skill must be present. If there's no skill, what are we expecting from them? Number 3, resources. They need the resources to work. If they don't have the resources to work, why are they there? Why are they resuming in that place? So they need the resources. When you have organization and there's no resources for them to work, frustration will set in and so on. So it is very, very important. Then number 4, they need incentives. There is the need for incentive. If there's no incentive, there's no way they can be motivated enough. Motivation is from the word motive. How do you motivate this staff? So HR must be able to understand it. Then the last one, action plan. So these 5, if any one of them is missing, you have missed the staff. You have missed the staff completely. There is no way you can contribute. There is no way you can get anything from that particular staff. Then the last one on the role is management of transformation and change. It is very, very important that HR should understand that they are transformational agents in any organization. They are change agents. And what is deliverable here? They are bringing all the time organizational renewal. They are bringing renewal. They are bringing changes. If any organization refuses to change, of course, they are in chain. So they need to remove themselves from the chain or from the lockdown to change, to renewal, to renewing their strategic goals and intent all the time. And what is the metaphor here? HR is a change agent anywhere. They are change agents. And what is their core activity? They manage transformation and change within the organization. All this has to be managed. It is very, very important. So, and the general goal of the HR is getting the right people with the right stuff in the right places at the right time. So all this connotation of right, and right must basically sync. They must fuse together in order to achieve the desired goal that the organization actually is working on. So an HR is supposed to be a human science expert. That's how it's supposed to be, human science expert. Supposed to be human science expert. Every area of humanity, HR must be expert in it, that relates to work environment, management, development, even counseling, even mental health. They have to have some sort of knowledge in this particular area. So a trained professional to understand human dynamics, that's who they are. They need to understand how to decode what enhances people's performance, what really enhances the performance of the people. How do they create conditions for people and business to perform? So HR must sit down and ask him or herself, how do I create a condition for people in this organization to be able to perform, to be able to do their work, and to be able to achieve the desired goal or their KPI and so on. And they must continually develop capabilities. This is not a one-off situation. Issues that relates to capacity building, it's an ongoing thing. It's an ongoing thing. It is continuous exercise until the best is achieved of that stuff. And of course, nobody should be tired of learning. If that is tired of learning, is tired of living. So HR must ensure that there's consistent training, both from within and outside the organization. If they cannot provide, they can bring in outsider to give them the kind of training that they need. But there has to be training all the time. And another form of training that every HR must come to terms with is coaching, mentoring, and counseling. This is very, very critical for every HR to have the understanding of how this works. This is a great intervention in management, coaching on the job, counseling for what he did in the past that he didn't do well, mentoring for where he is going in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time. So it is very, very important. Coaching for now, counseling for the past, mentoring for the future. So these are very, very critical elements of their work. So also, before we move to the what CEO expect from HR, HR is supposed to help the organization to capitalize on the capabilities of the human beings that are in that environment. This is very, very critical. And I think it has to be underlined. HR must assist his or her own organization to capitalize on the capabilities of that human beings or the strengths that are available. You can see a series of issues in our nation. Most of our human capacity are not being fully utilized. And there is a clear distinction between resource and resources. Resource and resources. We have some nations, they don't have resources, but they have resource. They don't have resources at all. In fact, we have countries that don't even have one natural resource and natural resources, but they are among the first 5 most developed nations in the world. What does that mean? It means that the resource they have actually supersedes the resources they don't have. Look at Nigeria, for instance. We have resources in abundance, but where is the resource? Where is the resource? So that is what every HR person must look at in the organization. Where is the resource? How do I capitalize on this resource and make it to become useful, to become profitable, to become something that is desirable, to become valuable? So this is very, very important. So now we begin to look at what we have put down, some of the strategic role of HR. We have laid down what they are meant to be doing, especially in the VUCA world that we have, especially in ever-changing era of information superhighway, and especially in an era of VUCA. VUCA, V, volatility, U, uncertainty, C, complexity, and A, ambiguity. That is the word that we have found ourselves. Nobody knew that there will be COVID and so on. COVID came and so on, and it was devastating and so on. So that's what's going to happen. So many things are coming to happen that basically nobody plans for it and so on. So how do the HR respond to some of these issues are very, very critical. So CEO expect HR functions now, especially now, to go beyond its traditional, conventional, and transactional role. CEO is expecting so much more than what HR is ready to give, to be more transformational and play an enabling role for business to achieve its goal. You see, I think we need to underline that. One, CEO is expecting, we have a lot of roles that CEO is expecting HR to play, but the key ones are the ones that we are going to highlight. So the first one is that, one, CEO expects HR to be more transformational, transform what we have, transform this staff into what class, transform this department to AAA rated. And play enabling role in order for the business to achieve its goal. Before, what concerns HR with how business achieve its goal? provided that is bringing in staff, paying the staff, promoting the staff, appraising the staff. No, today, no, today. Today, he has to play the role of ensuring that he acts as a strategic partner, strategic thinker, innovative enabler to ensure that the organization achieve the desired goal that they set. So other things that the CEO expect from HR, they expect them to be a soundboard, CEO expect HR to be a soundboard and guide for the CEO. In fact, he is also saddled with the responsibility now to look for external mentorship for his or her CEO. He can arrange the mentorship officially or unofficially. Those people that have gone through that line in the past can be arranged to be a friend to their CEO, so that from there, the CEO can be mentored. At times, he's mentored, he may not even know, but it is the HR that will facilitate this to seek external mentorship for the CEO, develop the capability to move ahead, and also become a friend whom a CEO can trust. See, trust is very, very critical. And this cannot be emphasized too emphatically. When we talk about trust, there has to be trust between the CEO and HR. If there is no trust, what you have is rust. Trust, the spelling of trust is Trust. When you remove the T, what we have is rust. And I'm saying this to say that every HR must be friendly with their CEO, and there must be some measures of trust to share business and personal challenges, to ruminate and cogitate and find solutions to these challenges. They also help business grow by channelizing strengths of human capital. Helping the business to grow is very, very critical. If the business does not grow, everybody will go home together. As the people say, when heaven falls, nobody is exonerated. Everybody is under it. So HR must ensure that the business continue to grow, business continue to exist. And there's also the issue of sustainability of some of these businesses and so on. And of course, we know that in our country, as soon as the business goes to the owner of the business in our country goes to burial ground, business goes to burial ground with them and so on. So this shouldn't be so. If you have a very strong, valuable HR partner in the organization, the business must continue. And there are a lot of ways, a lot of intervention that HR personality will bring to the table in this particular area. It channels the business, it channels the strength of human capital to help the business to grow. Then is brutally honest in giving and sharing feedback. Feedback is very, very important. And it is meet and right for every HR to be brutal when it comes to integrity, when it comes to honesty. It is very, very important. Feedback is very important. The CEO must be given some sort of good feedback. I remember when I used to hold a program called Advanced Company Direction Program in London, I used to design 3 questionnaires, one to the HR of the company, one to the chairman of the company. If the man that is attending the program is not the chairman, if it's the CEO, yes, I'll send one questionnaire to his chairman, and spouse also will have a questionnaire. Those 3 feedbacks, I'll be able to know who is that person, who that person is before even he attends the program. Then from there, we set aside a day for counseling session with the leaders. So they look at some of those issues and so on. And areas that there are gaps and so on, there is a lacuna in the area of character, in the area of competence, in the area of expertise and so on. Those are filled before they come back to the country and so on. So these are very, very critical. So HR has it as a mandate also to look at the area of weakness, strength, threats and opportunities and share it with the CEO and ensure that, okay, this is what I observed, this is what I observed, and this will be given out in the most respectable way, but in the most brutal manner, because truth does not have two names. So it is very, very important to look at that. So other areas that CEO actually require from HR, what are the other things that it needs? HR must develop a genuine interest and get involved in understanding the business context of the company. How can we be HR? We are in oil and gas, we are in insurance. We do not even bother to know about the business. If you don't know, you cannot flow. So it is very, very crucial that HR understand the connotation of the business they are involved in. So it is very, very important. And from there, they can be able to offer some sort of advice, guide, and so on, feedback, and so on. So research and study business environment. It is very, very important that HR research. It is very, very important now, critical, that HR learns to research into businesses now. It is very, very, very critical. Whatever business that you find yourself, you must be a researcher now, looking at the competitors in the market, looking at the blue ocean scenario, looking at the red ocean scenario, looking at your brand, looking at the competitors analysis, looking at pestle, political environment, economic, social, technological, legal. HR has to look at all these areas now, and where their company operates and offer some strategic advice in those particular area. HR also has it as a mandate. Can you imagine, to meet sales, marketing, and business development team on a regular basis, understand what they are working on, understand what they are going through, understand their challenges. So all these are very, very critical, very, very critical. What is the market demand and what your company delivers and supplies? So you have to look at it. What is the market analysis? What is the market saying about your product? In fact, as a matter of fact, the HR must now be customer-centric in orientation, to know what the customer of the organization is thinking about, to know what they are talking about, to have some sort of questionnaire, send it out to their customers to have a feelings of what the customers are saying, what the customers are feeling, what the customers are thinking about the organization, and so on. So all these are very, very critical for the HR to do. Other ones are to look at your company's business model. How does your company put together their goals, their objectives, their strategic intent, and so on, to reassess it. Is our goal basically eating on what we are actually doing? What is our vision? Is our vision actually, can it stand the test of time? What is the vision of this organization? Vision is the picture of the future. Do we have a vision that can really stand the test of time, especially in this era of information superhighway, in this era of informative and innovative governance? So how do we stand? Where do we stand there? And also, HR must be also concerned with the financial performance of the organization. They must understand the financial derivatives, the financial issue, reading of statement of account, and so on. So they have to learn how to do some of these things, learn how to read and interpret balance sheets, income statement, profitability and cost account. HR must be able to know where the organization is standing. In fact, should be able to give some advice that relates to finance and what is the connection of it with human resources. And everybody will ask, but it has connection. If the organization is not doing well financially, what is going to be the stand of the HR? How is the overhead going to be paid? How is the salary going to be paid? How is the business going to continue? So HR is concerned about all this, and they must develop a deep understanding of the overall business cycle and look at the output of the organization. They must participate in business decision. Of course, in the past, what concerns HR with business, finance, and some of those issues. But today, they must come to sit down at the table to discuss business, establish facts, and performance criteria and standards through data. In fact, HR must now be very, very solid data component personality. It is very, very important to build a credible partnership with other functional leadership teams, with other head of departments and so on, especially in the generic arm of the organization, the 4 generic arm of the organization that I mentioned: HR, finance, marketing, and operation. Those 4 generic arms, HR must have some synergistic connection with them in order to move the organization forward. And also, HR, they are not company secretaries, but what happens in the board basically will affect them. So your next board and executive meeting must have your seat reserved. It is very, very important for you to be able to note, for you to be able to understand what is the decision of the board. What are they talking about? What are they thinking about? So you have to look at some of those issues. They are very, very, very critical. And also, there must be alignment of HR with business strategy of the organization. There must be alignment, all right? So you must understand the goals that is set, and it must be clear, and everybody must be able to see it. Everybody must be able to understand it. You must meet with business leaders and seek to know more. Ask questions if you don't understand. You are now a strategic partner. You are not just HR personality now. You are now a business partner to the organization. Learn to convert business goals into HR goals. So you have to look at it. For example, if your business wants to grow 30% revenue in 1 year, what will the HR bring to the table? What are the HR actions that is required in terms of recruitment, in terms of retention, when you want to achieve it, in terms of skill development, in terms of performance and productivity, in terms of capacity building? So all these are very, very critical. And you must understand changing dynamics and trends and of the current and future skills, especially now, in this era that we are now. The skills that are very, very relevant now are not going to be relevant in the next couple of years. They are not going to be relevant again. And of course, you can see, so especially with the advent of this smart environment, so many things have been disrupted. You know, you can imagine ordinary one phone like this has disrupted over 50 occupations, from photography to calculator producer to people that are producing what do we call it? Yes, wristwatch and so on. And you have a situation of somebody, Longman used to produce dictionary in those days. Longman produces dictionary and so, but you can't see any dictionary again, and so many disruptions. So what is HR role in all this? Understand some of these dynamics, work on existing processes, because no process is final. So you continue to work on it. That's why we talk about lean methodology. And I'm saying this to say that HR must understand lean approaches, lean methodology, Keynesian theory, and some of these methodologies, continuous improvement. We have to ensure that we come to terms with some of these things, our policies, HR policy, staffing policy, and some of our processes, our guidelines, and so on. And they must work closely with business teams. They must work with business teams, the marketers, people that are generating business development, people in the organization, and they must also monitor performance. They must monitor performance, and this will help the CEO to have some sort of relief when HR is basically understanding some of these components. Of course, it will give some relief to the CEO. We are going to see in perspective as we are going in this session. Before we round up, we see all this in perspective. So the feedback, the real-time improvement of people performance has to be on the table, and each business unit, customer, and team may have their own needs and challenges, deliver on the promise. The HR must understand all this and customize its offering to ensure that all these business contexts are put in perspective. So nothing should be strange to HR personality anymore. So he has to put all these together and so on. Like I did say, this era is a different era. It's a very, very different era. It's a different environment. So every HR person must stand up to its game, up their game, and align to the environment and ensure that they are now becoming business strategists and so on. So it will not work for HR to just talk about recruitment, talk about training, talk about promotion and so on. So a lot of things they have to look into now in order to make the organization to continue to run. So you have to look at the right stuff. HR has to look at the right stuff. And what are those right stuff? You look at the skills, the aptitudes, and also experiences to lead successfully in the future. So HR has to look at that. And when people are coming in, look at their skills, look at their attitude, even as they start to work and so on. The most important thing is to look at what can they bring to the table. What is the kind of skill? And every HR personality must ask him or herself the ask question. A, the attitude of the people that are working in that organization. What is their attitude? Then the S question, skill. Do they have the right skill? Do they have the right dimension of skill that can be able to deliver on the results or the goals that they have set? Then the K question, knowledge. Do they have the right kind of knowledge that they can be able to put on the table that can be able to make the organization to achieve all that they need to achieve? So, and it comes to now for us to look at just-in-time approach. We are looking at what are the things that CEO basically expect. It expects also just-in-time approach. When there is a gap, there is a call, and that gaps are filled. And what are those gaps that we can see? When we talk about just-in-time approach, selection of right staff, hiring of right staff, promotion and career mobility, program evaluation, workforce planning. Part of it now is metrics, at the HR metrics. Every HR personality must understand the metrics that relates to each staff. At the end of the year, every staff must have his ROI put on the table. Return on investment of every staff at the end of the year should be able, which HR should be able to analyze it and put it on the table, that from the investment on this man, from the investment on this particular staff, this is the return on that investment. Competency model, team development, performance management, transfer of knowledge. Transfer of knowledge also has to do with succession planning, which is very, very key. Succession planning, and also attributes that relates to, okay, somebody is leaving this particular job, somebody is going to be promoted. Who are the people that he has trained? Who are the people that he has coached? Who are the people that he has counseled? So all these are just in time approach and so on. I was invited to Benin some years ago to come and train people. When I got to Benin, I discovered that they were old people. I was so flabbergasted. They were old people. I said, why do you have to ask me to come all the way from Lagos to come and train this? And they are federal staff and so on. These are old people. What am I going to do with them? They said that they are retirees, but they brought them back on, what do you call it now? Contracts. They said they brought them back on contracts. I said, wow. They worked for 35 years. Who do they train? I told them, why it to be China, they will not get their, what do you call it, pension. You must show in that place, you must show that these two human beings, you have trained them, you have coached them, they can do everything that you can do before you are paid your pension. How can you ask them to come back to come and be working as a contract staff after they have retired. It means that there was no succession planning in place, and HR must see to it that all these are well entrenched and are well established in organization. So, and that takes us to this issue of succession planning, competency model, and leadership development. Each of them is a course on their own. Each of them is a course on their own, and it is very, very important, very, very key, and very, very critical for us to look at. So all this just-in-time approach is very, very critical. So HR as a strategic partner must have integrated approach to building the leadership pipeline, workforce and succession planning issue. They have to look at it, competency model, recruitment, selection, hiring, training and development, promotion, retention, knowledge management, engagement program, valuation. So all these are very, very critical, very, very critical. So now we are going to the nitty-gritty now. So what do they really want? What is your CEO is looking for? And if you are a CEO, what is your HR going to give to you? What are you expecting from the HR? So developing leadership pipeline is very, very important in trying to bring out what the CEO wants from the HR. There has to be leadership pipeline that has to be in place. One, focus on the development. The HR must focus on the development of the organization, and the HR must help the organization, must help the CEO to identify linchpin positions. What are those linchpin positions? Positions that you can't dispense with. Position that if it is not filled properly, the organization will go into a serious problem. I think I've had that situation, that experience in one of the places I worked. A particular position was not well, managed. They brought in somebody that basically forged results. He was a criminal, actually. He was outright criminal, and they brought him in for a very, very senior position, and it was a disaster. It was a big disaster, and I learned that that guy also worked in one of the major communication companies in Nigeria. All right, and by the time he stole everything that there was to be stolen, they didn't declare him wanted on the newspaper. In order for not to show their ineptitude, not to show their negligence, so they didn't declare him wanted. So he moved to another place and so on. At a point, we discovered I was a secondary school dropout, and it came with a lot of certificates from Harvard to Oxford, from everywhere and so on. So linchpin, HR must help the CEO to identify linchpin position, and HR must be able to bring about transparency to the operation. In fact, that is one of the key issues for us in corporate governance. There's what we call FAT in corporate governance. Transparency is very, very key there. FAT, F for fairness, A for accountability, R for responsibility, and T for transparency. It is very, very key that HR should bring transparency to the table based on its relationship with his or a CEO and so on. And they should also help the organization measure progress regularly, and keep it flexible. There is no rigidity. If this does not work, others will work. So look at areas that work and move in that particular order. So what CEO wants, each level of leadership requires a unique mix of skills. The CEO wants the kind of skill that, of course, that is very, very knowledgeable, that understand the nature of their work and so on, time application and values, priorities. They want HR that will give priorities to what is valuable, what basically brings result. So these 6 passages, when you are looking at bends in the pipeline, you have to look at it. CEO wants HR that will manage these 6 processes in the pipeline. 1, managing self to managing others. They want HR that will be able to manage themselves in order to manage others. If you don't manage yourself, how can you manage others? Number 2, managing others to managing managers, managing other people, managing staff in order to manage their managers. You know, there was a time we used to teach a course called How to Manage Your Boss. So this comes into 4 here. Number 3, managing managers to functional managers, moving from managing managers to functional managers. Number 4, being a functional manager to becoming a business manager. You are a functional manager is good, but what the CEO is expecting from you is to become a business manager. Business manager to becoming a group manager, from group manager to becoming an enterprise manager. So all these are some of the pipelines that are very, very critical. I don't have much of the time. We could have explained them one after the other and bring them to perspective. But this is what the 6 passages that every of the HR personality must understand and look at the pipelines that is bringing. So still continuing on what the CEO wants, they want HR leader confluence of environment of the organization. Look at the environment. Look at the HR person that understands the environment. They want HR person that has managerial abilities. Which is very, very important. And they want HR that understand the job characteristics that even those people that the HR will oversee are engineers, accountants, all kinds of professionals, but yet they must understand their job characteristics and they must also understand the staff characteristics. But L is very, very important for HR. CEO wants HR that has leadership potentials, leadership ability. And there are 2 connotations of leadership. One is competence and the other one is commitment. So a CEO wants HR that is committed and that is competent. It is very, very important. Those 2, you cannot dispense with it. You can't have one. One can never work. So you must have the 2. So those 2 are what is basically going to work, what is going to put you at a very, very advantageous position. So you have to have all those. So, and we have other areas of focus for HR, business to business. You must be able to understand how to relate with other people in the business, what advantage they can get. When we talk about business to business, how a business can partner another business. How, let's say this business, for example, they are in a communication environment. How can we work for ourselves to achieve better results? So HR must also look at some additional value in business to business, developing winning strategies to keep ahead of competition, capitalize on low-hanging fruit to identify a ballpark value, visualize customer-directed convergence. All these are very, very pivotal areas that HR will have influence today. Iterative approaches to corporation strategy, establish a management framework from the inside. So these are some of the areas that HR can basically assist the CEO, assist the organization achieve the desired goal. So now looking at how do we manage the strategy, how do we make the CEO to really come out clear and say, okay, this HR department or HR manager has actually added value to my life. The ability to counsel the CEO in strategic planning and resource allocation. HR must be able to do that now, to counsel. Can you imagine? To counsel, to be like a special advisor to the CEO. It is now critical to HR role in modern business. Before it was not there. HR, they are sub-service section. They are just a pull-down section. They are just like, okay, master servants, go and do this, go and do that. They only act on instruction. But we are saying today that HR will act as a counselor to the CEO, as advisor to the CEO. CEO wants an HR who understands where the company wants to go and what talents and resources are required to get there quickly. So CEO want that now. They want HR that can think fast, that can be able to understand this is where this company is going. In 5 years' time, in 10 years, and this is where we are going. And HR brings the kind of human beings, human element that can be able to drive the organization to achieve that goal. Then CEO needs help to determine the right number of resources, in every area in order to execute the strategy and maintain balance across organizations. So CEO needs help to know the kind of resources needed in terms of human and material. CEO needs help to understand the kind of skill that is needed to achieve particular assignment. So the head of HR can provide the data and counsel to make the organization as efficient as possible. So I'm saying that data is very, very key now. Data is very, very key. Data must be handy to every HR personality, and it must have some sort of counseling skill for now. So it is very, very important. It's very, very important. So what other attributes? CEO wants the HR department to proactively find and hire industry stars. They don't want mediocres. CEO don't want mediocres today. They want people that are smart. They want stars, not just to put advert posts, vacancies when they occur. They want to search, to select the best, people that can turn things around, people that can convert 50 million to 100 million immediately. That is what the CEO needs now. CEO does not need the excuses now, does not need so much noise, so much, oh, we could have done this, but this, no, they want results. CEO wants results. CEO wants results. Filling empty position is not enough to be successful. The true HR leader must help market the company in a way that attracts the best talent in that industry. HR must help to market the organization, must put the organization at the foundation of the people who can be able to drive home their points. Their recruiting is a continuous process. A top-notch HR leader will embrace it and add value, tremendous value, terrible values. That is what is needed now. What is needed now is results. In fact, paper is not needed now. Books are not needed. Of course, they matter. But what is needed majorly now is results. People that can put results on the table. So it is very, very important. So other role is that HR leaders should drive good management practices by applying management principles. They don't need to micromanage, but they need to micro-train. So people are saying don't micromanage, but we are saying that you must micro-train. Under micro-training are those 3 interventional tools of management: coaching, mentoring, and counseling. Under micro-train, it is very, very important to micro-train. You don't need to micromanage, but you can micro-train. It is very, very important. Too many companies hire good people. They hire good people only to let them flounder once they come on board. They bring in good people, but when there is no system, when there is no structure in place, when there is no area that staffs are synergized and so on, where they can basically work together, where everybody is seen as important, where everybody is working as a team, people flounder, they fall off the way. Then they are disappointed when the new employee doesn't contribute quickly. They will be disappointed because what needs to be put in place are not basically in place. I talk about those 5 things that are very, very critical. Those 5 things, if one of them is not in place, you can't achieve anything. When there is no vision, when there is no skill, when there is no resources, when there is no incentives, and when there is no action plan, if anyone is missing, you don't have any organization. So those 5 are very, very critical. And HR must ensure that those 5 are constant. They are constantly in place. Then HR can end this harmful dynamics by owning the onboarding process. So it is very, very important. So onboarding is very, very crucial. When people are coming in, the rate of acclimatization is very, very crucial. Quality onboarding includes making new hire aware of the company history, general industry knowledge, having attend meetings with key executives, in addition to the obvious job-specific training, which is very, very important. Company history. History must be told. Industry knowledge. If the HR professional does not understand the industry he or she is operating, how can he make other people to understand it? All right. If you don't know, how can you flow? So it is very, very important that they come to terms with all this. So evidence and data-driven HR help leaders take appropriate. What does that mean? HR will help the CEO take appropriate and informed decisions that are backed by evidence, that are backed by facts, solid fact and data. Very, very important. HR also will consolidate overall organizational data points, prepare various meaningful reports that can be used by various stakeholders for making business decisions. And they also must learn to analyze data, especially when it comes to analysis, interpretation of business issues, the challenges, and come up with solutions from the perspective of HR, from the perspective of the HR. So these are the things that the CEO needs. When he gets somebody that can bring this to the table, he goes to sleep well. He has rest of mind. He has assurance that things are basically working out well. So all these are very, very important. So he brings everything together. He brings everything together because he's a strategic partner. It's not just HR manager. It's not just HR director. He's a partner in the business. And they call her for counsel, for advice, because he has solid data in his hand. He has research. He has evidences. He has facts, and he can bring them to the table. So HR professional will work closely with the business strategy team to help CEO to understand future plans of the company, track goals, and ensure that they check regularly on their offering. And also is an active participant and provide inputs from the market on skill, acquisition, technology, talent, and so on. HR also must now learn to communicate strategy and goals to the rest of the organization in a simple and ambiguous manner. They also now will help teams align, connect, and make everybody to work collectively, collaboratively, and cohesively in order to achieve the goal of the organization, upgrade skills, and align HR function in its day-to-day actions to ease business tension and to bring teams together to be able to work properly. Considering the situation where you have HR that is not a partner, that is just a personnel manager of the old. So what are you going to get from that person? And we have a lot of examples. We have a lot of case studies around that. And when HR does not understand its function, what do you expect him to play? How do you expect him to play the role it's supposed to play, and so on? So many of them bring a lot of negative feelings, negative issues, and so on to the table. So HR must prepare proactively for the future in terms of recruitment. Future. When you are recruiting people today, it's not about today, it's about the future. Their skill and their competencies. Unlike a business which has its own strategy, develop an HR strategy that enables the business to achieve its goal. Align your own strategy. Let every HR head design its own strategy and look at the organizational strategy and conduct a marriage ceremony between the HR strategy and organizational strategy and bring out a report on it. And this will go a long way to assist the CEO in taking decisions. So it's a leader on its own. CEO are also in the board. They are paid for revenue, growth, return value to shareholders, and so on. Executive leadership seems to be constantly under pressure, stress, anxiety, and so on, doing multiple things at the time and so on. So they need help. They need help from people that can be able to relieve them of some of these pressures. The amount of stress and pressure executive team exhibit leads to toxic work culture, where only task status review, updates, and reports matters. So collaboration, sense of commitment, result orientation, and accountability suffers in this case. So HR now comes into this scene. HR comes into the scenario. So the role of an HR in this scenario is to be a friend to the CEO, to bring a listening ear to the table, observing closely their behavior, their action, and bring wise counsel in order for the organization to move in the right direction, and the CEO to be adequately counseled to ensure that the business actually achieves the desired goal. So a bring listening skill, understanding of leadership challenges, be it business, hierarchy, internal politics, status quo, integrity issue, we bring it to the table and ensure that things move. So I think also the HR also must be the champion of integrity issues in every organization. If the HR leader loses their integrity, it loses everything. I think I said it once in the program that the major crisis of our country is not the crisis of Boko Haram, it's not the crisis of IPOB or whatever crisis you thought. Our major crisis is a crisis of integrity. So if you bring integrity to the table, if HR leader brings integrity to the table, it flows up and it flows down. So it is very, very important. Provide true pulse, true feedback of the flow of the leadership team. Use analytical, data-based, evidence-based approach to retrospect on the past decision and the impact it has on the organization. So HR leader must bring all this to the table. True pulse, integrity, feedback, analytic, data and evidence-based approach. So all these are very, very critical for HR leader of today to bring to the table. So what are the signs, as I'll be trying to round up? What are the signs? We've been able to establish some of the roles that HR has to play and what the CEO is expecting from the CEO, from the HR leaders. What are those roles? We have highlighted all the roles that we felt that the CEO may be expecting from the HR leader. Now, what are the signs that CEO should replace their HR leaders? What are the signs? So the best leaders see HR leaders as strategic and focused on driving business outcomes by ensuring the organization people are empowered to be their best. The only way to accomplish is to make the HR leader part of the C-suite, to make HR leader to be part of the executive, senior executive team. The HR function is so essential to business success that its roles and effectiveness should be monitored at both the executive and board level. And the HR leader should report directly to the CEO. Now, having said all this, what are the issues? What are the problematic areas? And what are the signs that CEO need to replace their HR leaders? These are the signs. When the HR leader doesn't share the long-term vision of the organization, when the leaders, HR leaders, doesn't want to challenge the CEO. In fact, some CEO, they want people that can challenge them positively. traditional HR leader, chief HR officers tends to be uncomfortable challenging CEOs because they are not an integral part of the executive C-suite and report to another C-suite executive. They are not empowered to speak to the CEO on a peer level. But now, because they are strategic partners, this is not about hierarchy, it is about function. They have all that it takes to meet with the CEO one-on-one and be frank and give data, feedback, analysis of what they observe in that organization. When they are not empowered to speak to the CEO on the peer level, the metrics they are measured by make them feel less accountable for business results. They lack the nerve to speak up. The chief HR officer doesn't want a seat at the C-suite table. The chief HR officer doesn't understand the business, does not understand the business. These are the problematic areas, and it is time to replace them. The chief HR officer is not strategically minded and operationally focused. Do we have the skill, or are we building the skill needed in the shifting landscape? Do we have the right people, right skill, right skill set, right attitudes and culture to take the organization to where it's supposed to be? Are we building future leaders and considering succession plans if key people leave for one reason or the other? So these are some of the issues that we bring together for us this evening in this discussion. So it is very, very critical that HR leaders begin to see themselves as C-suite leaders who can engage with the CEO. The era of master servant is over. This is the area that people need to collaborate, cooperate, and synergize and work for the progress of whatever organization. And they must understand that we're in a different world, in innovative, creative VUCA world that is different from what we used to have. So thank you very much. Except there are questions, there are issues, I will hand over to the coordinator, Mr. Yemi Adeosun. Thank you very much for having me. And thanks for all the participants. I appreciate all of you joining us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Femi. That was phenomenal, world class. Doctor, the first thing I'd like to say, sir, is that you must come back. And you must come back quickly. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. We quickly like to take
Thank you.
Just 3 questions or contributions. You like to ask a question, like to contribute to this discourse, kindly raise your hands so that we can quickly recognize you. And if you prefer to drop your questions in the chat box, please do so. We need to be out of here not later than 12 more minutes. I'm sure Doctor will be preparing for inauguration tomorrow. All right, let's see if there are any questions that may need the attention of Doctor. I can see quite a number of accolades in the chat box. People are clapping.
Wow.
People are very grateful, very thankful. Humbi Adetunji says, thank you, sir, very impactful. Egbo Priscilla says, thank you, sir. Francisco Fumla says, thank you so much, Dr. Femi. Moronke Bunuyo says, more grace, this is awesome. Busolami says, thank you so much. This was very insightful. You didn't leave out anything. Oh, Dr. Muraki Oloyede says, very good insight, Doc. All right. Biola Folari says, nice one, sir. Thank you so much. Let's take a question or comment quickly from Mr. or Dr. Adebayo Adefemi. You have the floor, sir. Dr. Adebayo Adefemi, you have the floor, sir. You have been, go ahead, sir. Your hands are still up. Dr. Adebayo, all you need to do is unmute and ask your question.
All right. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening, Doctor. Thanks for the lecture tonight. It was
Thank
really
you,
insightful. It was just an eye-opener for we HR on the field. It has actually helped us in a long way. And most of the things you've been saying, those are the things, but part of the challenges we are facing in HR today. Part of the challenges we are facing in HR. And it's a privilege to be there also. Even we that were in this meeting, we can actually also tell all our other colleagues in HR that this is how we can do this. This is how we can actually relate to the CEO. These are the CEO expectation. These are the things that is expected from HR, from CEO. Yeah, I appreciate that. Okay, my question is, I will appreciate if you can actually dwell more on the HR business partnering. You made mention of something, but I could not get your point. The network was very bad. So if you can just dwell more on the HR business partnering, I really appreciate that, sir. Thank you. That's my question.
Very well.
Okay, let's quickly take all the questions, Doc, so that we can manage time to well. Ifoma, you can please ask your question. Hello, Ifoma. Ifoma, we recognize you. Please do ask your question. Your answer.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Doctor, for this wonderful meeting. I was the HR business partner before in my former firm, and I recently got a job that I'll be starting 1st of June as a HR manager, but is in a factory, like they produce paper bags. So, and they don't have any HR presence before. And I don't know, and before now, I have less than a year experience in HR. I came in as an intern, and that was how I grew to where I am today in less than a year. So I want to know, what can I do in order to put structure in this place? Because there's no structure, there's no employee database, there's nothing. So how do I establish my presence and let this CEO, like you said, know that they hired the right fit for this job, please? Thank you so much.
Okay. Last but not the least, we'll be asking Henry Akibiro. Henry, your question, please. That will be the last question so that the doctor can wrap up. You can also drop answers to some of these questions in the chat box. But our colleagues listening.
Okay. Thank you so very much, Doctor. That was very insightful. However, I'll just quickly throw this question. Yes, in a situation where let me give a scenario for myself as a HR manager where I am, and we also have a strategic manager, of course, who see the function of the HR to him is less, or rather should be reporting to him, and of course shouldn't contribute whatsoever until there's an instruction from him. And that has really, the passion, or rather the zeal to function more, is demoralized. So what would your opinion be in such case? Because it's really troubling me, and of course I find it difficult to even proceed further on the job. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you so much, Doctor. You can take all the questions and we wrap up.
Okay, yes, we start from I spoke about HR partnership, and somebody said that he needs to get some information about it. I'm saying that in the past, generically, HR role is what you call personnel manager's role. He recruits, at times he trains, very irregular training. It does issues that relates to appraisal and so on. And in most cases, it takes care of admin work and so on. But I'm saying that today, in a VUCA environment, in a digitalized information superhighway world that we are now, HR is now a business partner. HR is now concerned and saddled with the issue that relates to business prospects, competitors analysis, market analysis, statement of accounts, issues that relates to how their business can take their stand in the market, issues that relates to blue ocean strategies, HR now must now be conducting some sort of research, having some data about the competitors, about the market, about where they stand, and so on, supplying the CEO, helping the CEO to understand some of these components, counseling the CEO, making the CEO to understand some of the things that he can never see. HR should be on ground, seeing all this. CEO may be busy with the details of how the business will survive and so on. It is the in HR's purview now to look at areas of competitors, areas of industry analysis, their capital, their market share, and some of those areas that relates to a strategic area. That does not mean that they will not basically carry out their rudimentary jobs, but they have to basically add some of these to their jobs in order to add value to their CEO and to their organization. So this is what I was saying. Then somebody was saying that it talks about restructure in the organization. He said just found himself in the organization, and she does not basically want to look like, okay, I'm not going to add value to this organization and so on. So I think it is very, very critical that structure has to be in place. And that has to come through the strategic lead or head of the organization. What you need to do is to have a one-on-one discussion with your managing director that this is what I feel about this organization, and my role cannot be played out in the absence of right structure. And in this, I'm going to send the basic needs of starting HR department to Mr. Adeosun. Maybe he will send it to you, how to start HR department from scratch. So I'm going to send it to him so that he can forward that to you and so on. But suffice it to say that you need to meet with your MD, because without his consent, without his, you know, that's what we usually refer to as the tone at the top. If the tone at the top is negative or acidic or poisonous, you can't do much. Well, you have to make sure that the tone at the top supports your offering, supports what you want to do. Then from there, you'll be able to channel your energy to be able to bring out the kind of structure that is needed. And from there, you now begin to settle down to function as a strategic partner of the organization. In fact, part of the work you have started is by the time you have a meeting with the CEO, that this is how I feel, this is how it's supposed to go, and so on. And it will empower you, it will support you if he's a wise CEO to be able to bring some of these things to the table. Then the third one is talking about the fact that he has a place, if I get him right, he has a place that you have to report to someone that is not a professional and so on. And you cannot be able to basically find your loop in this particular environment to be able to function well, that is not happy about it. Again, all that is needed to do is to have a meeting, is to call for a meeting, is to arrange a meeting with the people concerned about, in this particular instance, you have a meeting with them, invite people that are concerned, the CEO, the person, everybody, that, okay, this is what you feel, this is what you feel about this whole issue. You know, the issue of somebody is not happy, somebody is you know, a lot of issues is happening now. People are falling into mental health, and so as a result of the challenges of work and so on. It shouldn't be. It's a thing that we can sort out by talking, by communicating. So, and how are you going to do this? You have to go to picnic, or you have to go to picnic to be able to sort out this issue. You have to go to picnic. Number one, P in picnic means you have to plan how you are going to put it down. Plan, you have to plan. Planning, number one, you have to plan. Then I in picnic is I interaction. You have to interact with the people concerned. You have to interact with the people concerned. C, you have to coordinate all the efforts within the confine of that organization and say, okay, this thing is not supposed to be like this. Let's coordinate ourselves. You know, you cannot be like Nigeria. Ministry of Agri does not know what Ministry of Works and Housing is doing. So you can't be like that. So you have to coordinate all the efforts of the people that are working to. Then networking, you have to network with people that are doing this similar issue that other people are facing in other organizations anywhere in the world. You network with them. How do they face this challenge, and how were they able to ensure that they come off this problem and they achieve success? So then that's a picnic. That's an integration. You have to integrate. You have to integrate everybody that is involved. The CEO, the person, everybody must be involved in discussion, in coming out with some of these issues. You have to call a meeting and integrate everybody into it and ensure that everybody moves from there. And you have to control what you say. You have to control what you say. You have to control your energy, your anger and everything, and ensure that you achieve the right result from it. So thank you very much. So if there's any other thing we can discuss outside of this. Yes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Femi Osaku Johnson. A Yoruba proverb says, we desire to eat meat for a sustained period of time, but the esophagus will draw it in. Ladies and gentlemen, we will do everything within our powers to bring Doctor back as quickly as possible. We have to end it tonight. Thank you so much, Doctor. This was
Thank you so much.
Please,
you're welcome.
Enjoy the rest of your night. Ladies and gentlemen, good night. See you soon.
Good night.